Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. We've got a prime time pay-per-view for you. Now, let me work my magic. Yes, there was a time I used to wrestle and then I used to dance. And I have the Intercontinental title. And yes, in the bag of tricks from WCW. Ooh, it stings. Bringing up those memories. So, with the championship, I'm going to hand it to the all-time reigning champion, the one and only Woofy. Now, to the review. Hey everyone, welcome to Wrestling With Review. Today I'm paying tribute to Wrestling With Regret, hosted by Brian Zane, a manager, former wrestler, and just a host of one of the best wrestling shows on YouTube. Now, speaking of best wrestling shows, I'm going to talk about some of my favorite times Brian spoke about. Now, the Grand Masters of Wrestling, a classic set of episodes. You got this pay-per-view made by a fencing champion, so we got all legends from yesteryear, and as Brian said, it's bad, but there's one good match. So yeah, you got legends such as Killer Kowalski, you got the Iron Sheik, you got Nikolai Volkov, a couple of independent wrestlers. So there's this show and it's got a whole heap of really bad matches, and the guy who organized the show, he followed it up with a second one, and that was even worse, but there's still one good match. And then Brian talks about Heroes of Wrestling. Now that's actually the third entry, because you got a number of wrestlers in Heroes of Wrestling that were in Grandmasters of Wrestling too. And once again, it was a one-off show, many bad matches, but one good one. And I just have found the Heroes of Wrestling the final chapter to this trilogy. And they're just really great to watch. And in the Heroes of Wrestling one, the guest reviewer Adam from What Culture, he mentions the Mighty Maccabees debut match. And of course, the Mighty Maccabee was the hero of Grandmasters of Wrestling. And then Brian makes a reference, says the last time he saw these wrestlers, talking about Nikolai and the Iron Sheik, they were in the Grandmasters. So there's the connection. Another set of series is what I call the X series. You got the XWF, XWO, and Wrestling Society X. Now, these series have like 10 episodes each, a bunch of poor matches, and some of the same wrestlers are in the other promotions. Like in XWF, you have Vampiro, who ends up in Wrestling Society X. And to further connect all these shows, you got Greg Hammer Valentine, who was in Heroes of Wrestling. He's in the XWF. Now, I'm a bit confused here because they got similar names, similar fonts. Now, did one person personally create all these different leagues to get the best out of one idea? Because it's so much of a coincidence. Because yeah, you got the Grandmasters set, which are classic episodes. Then you got the Heroes of Wrestling. So that's one trilogy. Then you got the X series. But they're all so bad. They didn't last. They were made to compete with the WWE, but they failed. But in another sense, they succeeded because you got all these shows. So was it one person that came up with the whole thing? Psychology. And then there's a spin-off, the XFL. One season, bad matches, but a highlight, and The Rock, of all people, bought it just recently. So take one of the best wrestlers ever, who is really bad in Hollywood, buying a one-off promotion, and you would think The Rock being involved, it would be a hit, but no, it got laid to SmackDown, and that's the bottom line. And until next time, for my next pay-per-view, I'll scare you later.
nature dog, Wolfie, is here. I'm going to open up a can of whoop-ass on ya.
Okay, as you can see, backstage politics. And that happens a lot in wrestling. And speaking of trilogies, you can't look past the very best of WCW Nitro. Now, since the WWE bought this company, they've had a lot of content. And a few years ago, we got this. I mean, look at that awesome box. You got the main superstars, you got the NWO down there, you got all these top booked superstars, you got awesome shots of many matches, and yeah, 3 whole DVDs. Now, there's no way to find out what's what. Like, they've got some matches listed here, but the second one has got a manual with all the matches, moments, and segments. Now, each one is hosted by Diamond Dallas Page, one of the best wrestlers ever. But why would they degrade from this awesome box to just a regular case? And then they finished off with Volume 3. Now, there are some not worthy matches. Like, some matches are either a quarter long or halved, and some aren't even that good. Like, there's so much content, but hey, it's still a great trilogy, worth it for a fan. And speaking of WCW, the tour guide. When WCW got to Australia in 2000, the year of my favorite WrestleMania, WrestleMania 16, which is said by many fans as the worst, but it's my personal favorite. The game WrestleMania 2000 is fantastic. WWF No Mercy is awesome. Then WCW NWO Revenge. Those are great games. And like, just looking back here, there's so many memories. Like, you got all the wrestler profiles. And something very special, because this is 20 years old. Still got the tickets. And it was a choice. You could either go to Nitro or Thunder. Well, I definitely picked Nitro because that was the better of both. And, well, Thunder was the prelude to WWF SmackDown. So WWE took everything WCW started. It didn't work for them, but it worked for WWE. And, well, they've been here a few times. They were here for the Ruthless Aggression Tour, the Global Warming or Warning Tour, and they've had Raw here a couple of times, so great memories for a wrestling fan. And this has been Wrestling with Review.